Hello, and welcome to a new devlog series. Oh, hi, how's it going? The name's Silers, and welcome to Devlog 0 of Riftella, a 2.5D action roguelike game set at the moment where the world ends. With a cute protagonist, flashy spells, big weapons, and literal bloodthirsty enemies. But first, let's meet the crew. And by crew, I mean me and a nut. And no, not that kind of nut, so put that away. Meet Blue Peanuts.
Hi, my name's Blue Peanuts and I'm a game dev and I've done quite a few game jams with Silers.
He's the programmer slash game designer of this whole operation. And me? Well, I'm the artist. I make everything that you see and everything underneath. That makes me sound like I'm coding. No, I'm just making the story. But you didn't come here to see me, or maybe you did. Hi? But most of you came here to see the game. And what did I come here for? To deliver. So, let's talk about mechanics. So Riftella is a top-down action roguelike game. Something you probably have never seen before? Okay, that was a lie. But what separates Riftella from everything else? Well, for now, the main thing would be the magic system. If we skip past all the boring stats like HP, we have the break and flow mechanic. Before you can access the health of an enemy, you have to deplete the stance bar and initiate a stance break, where you get a few seconds when that enemy is now stunned and you can deal damage. But the more interesting part is, every time you stance break, you get something called flow. And using flow, you can unleash the wide variety of magic spells we plan to add in the game. Like this land spell that you see right now. Look at that. So cool. But Silers, why call it flow? Well, the goal is to make it feel like you're in a flow state. But that also means if you don't do anything about your flow bar, well, like in a flow state, after a certain amount of time, you snap out of it, and your flow disappears. That also applies for the stance bar. If you don't do anything about it, well, they fix their stance and they get up. That makes sense. A cool thing you can do with this system is, well, let me paint you a picture. Consider enemy A. You break the enemy's stance, gain some flow, cast a spell on another enemy to break that enemy, gain more flow, to cast another spell to gain more flow, and cast a spell for more flow, for more spell, for more flow. Well, you get the picture. The goal is to really make the break and flow mechanic be as satisfying as it can be, with combos from spells and the weapons. And speaking of weapons, let's talk about that next. With the potential of flashy spells, I wanted the weapons to still look cool. So, how do we do that? Well, make it big. Unproportionally big. So I was browsing Pinterest for inspiration one time when I saw an art with, guess what? Really big weapons. And I thought to myself, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So I put it in our game. And of course, the most basic weapon that we first added in the game is a normal slashing weapon. Or is it? Since when I was designing weapons, I made this. A chainsaw. And with that, a not so slashing yet still pretty much a slashing weapon has been born. Beautiful. And for both the weapon and the spell, you would have two available slots that you can use to combo whatever weapon and spell you want. And none of that scroll wheel change your weapon holding bullshit. It goes something like weapon 1 would be in the left mouse, and weapon 2 would be in the right mouse. So in Riftella, you dictate your own unique attack patterns every run. You can have the chainsaw in your left hand, while having a charged weapon or even a long range weapon on your right, only to be chosen by you. And of course, the RNG gods, because this is a roguelike after all. But those are the things that you can do. What about the things that the game does for you? Let's talk about passive skill, or in this game, we call them Relics. Relics are passive upgrades that you can get mid-run to enhance your combat. This can range from getting your stamina back faster, or literal lightning striking down when you break an enemy. So, sky's the limit. So we're going to add rarity to these things at some point, but for now they're there, they're chilling. But if you have any ideas we can steal, take inspiration from, go ahead. We're still in the early stages of development, unfortunately, so throw them at us, maybe it'll stick. Anything from weapons, to spell, to relics, to even enemies. Ha, perfect transition, baby! Meet the Blood Soldiers, the main visual style we have for the enemies in the first area. We have 3 variations so far: the Blood Driller, Lancer, and the Gunner, each doing its own unique attack patterns: a dash, a slash, and well, a bullet to your head. In the future, we'll add more enemy variations, elites, and of course, bosses. And elites are basically mini bosses that you can find scattered around the map. Gameplay wise, you can avoid them if you're scared, or you just don't want to, but since the risk is bigger, that only means the reward pretty damn good. We want the idea of normal enemies to be where you get a feel for your build, and elites and bosses are a test of skill. But those guys are a discussion for another day. So let's stop ignoring our poor protagonist, Estella. Small girl, big weapon. That makes for a pretty interesting picture, doesn't it? Normally, Estella would be wearing this bunny mask, like in this concept art, but this is actually another character that we have in the game. And since they would sometimes be separate sprites, I decided to make Estella first and add the mask later. But not gonna lie, without the mask, it feels like she just lacks that signature look. So maybe I'll work on that soon, since the mask is also connected to motives, some enemies, and, well, the world. The bards sing the tales as such. There was once a girl, deemed a great mage, crowned the zenith, the strongest of this age, worshipped like a god and treated like a king. Yet, one day, without any warning, one measly spell was all she hurled, and she calls forth the rift that parted the world. Well, I won't spoil you too much about it. It's up to you to discover the story and the lore of this mysterious dying world. So let's talk a little bit about art direction. Of course, this is a fantasy world, magic, different races, mythical creatures, monsters, and technology? Yeah, I want this world to be a mix of magic and tech. I'm an arcane fan, yeah, cry about it. What do you even call this? Magic punk? I don't know. But that's also why the weapons you see are very mechanical looking. It's a chainsaw, for Christ's sake. And well, I want the environment to feel just like that too. A bit of steampunk, a bit of deco punk in there, and of course, make it all ruined. But there's still something missing here, something that will add a pop of color and contrast to everything. The rift. It's basically what's destroying the world as you play the game. I tried different concepts for it, but none of them stuck so far, so we'll have to wait for that. Here's some concept art though. And for some curious people out there, let's talk about engines. The other engine. Perfect. We're using Godot, so rejoice Godot fans, but we're using C# as the programming language and using Spine 2D for all the animations. And let me tell you a little bit about Spine 2D. Well, it only works for 2D. And our game, if you squint really hard, yeah, it's not 2D. It's 2D sprites in a 3D world, or the magical 2.5D. So what we do is make a sub-viewport for each character we want to animate, then render them with the sprite 3D. I have been informed that this approach might cause some performance issues when there's a lot of characters. And our solution for that is... okay, alright, yeah. Ignore it. Wait, what? But you know what we can't ignore? Nuggets. And not the good kind of nuggets. I'm talking about .NUGGET files that at one point decided to just not work. I don't even know what these are. Can I eat them? No, but we did spend like 3 hours fixing this and troubleshooting this. And you know what the funny part is? I don't even remember how we fixed it. Then at one point, something called a breakpoint decided to make problems. It kept telling me I reached a breakpoint. Well, I didn't put a breakpoint. No one put a breakpoint. What even is a breakpoint? I'm gonna break your points, that's what I'm gonna do. It got so bad that we installed a software so Peanuts can debug my laptop from like across the world. Sometimes you think you know how game dev works and boom! Nuggets. And Mr. Nugget, what do you have to say for yourself? So, subscribe? That's right, because that's it for this devlog and you don't want to miss the next one.